Hey everyone, Noah here. With Rage of the Abyss, we finally got Fire King Ulcanix, which is a huge boost to the Fire King deck. A deck that I really like because you play a lot during your opponent's turn and you can also summon a bunch of big monsters to run over stuff. That makes it very good. Go second, you can crash stuff to summon other monsters. Just a really cool deck. But obviously, if you've seen the meta Fire King list, you'll see it's not very cheap. So you have to pay for DIABELLSTAR, Wanted, Bonfire, Dominus Impulse, and AZAMINA engine. It all just adds up. I still wanted to try the deck though, so I was looking into budget versions of the deck and thought if I do well at locals with a budget version, then I don't need to spend that money for now. I ended up going 4-1, which I think is a pretty decent result for that deck. Could have probably also gone 5-0 if something went differently in the match I lost. I actually got repaired from 10 pi to a different matchup that was worse for me. So that's that. But I think 4-1 is respectable. And I was looking into engines and looked into Super Heavy Samurai, Melodious. Both of them added too many bricks. There's Tri-Brigade, which I also didn't like because the engine is too big. And then randomly in a Jesse Cotton stream, Vlad just mentioned you can summon Ulcanix off of Arsenal Falcon. And I was like, wait, Arsenal Falcon, you can make that with a Kashtira engine. So I tried out some combos and it actually worked really well. And what I like about the version, as opposed to like the Super Heavy Samurai version, is the Kashtira actually add something that the normal list doesn't have. Now, obviously, the normal list is better overall, but at least this version is not inherently worse. The Kashtira engine actually adds something to your deck. So today I wanted to show you the deck list and some of the combos. A lot of people have been asking. I posted it on Twitter. Follow me on Twitter, by the way. It's in the description. And also, we're very close to 1,000 subs, so if you leave a sub, that would be really nice. But let's hop into the deck profile. Alright, let's hop into the deck profile first. We'll start with the main deck. I'll put these aside. And we run 2 Ulcanix. Now, people have been discussing between 2 and 3 in this deck. Jesse Cotton, for example, says he always wants to play 3. Currently, I only have 2. I was thinking about 3, and then I would cut down the Ponix to 2. So I would like have 3 and 2 here. I want to have 5 in total here, but I ran with this. Ponix is also nice to draw because it can special summon itself from hand if you pop something. So this ratio definitely is fine, but if you want to play a third Ulcanix, you definitely do that. And for the other Fire King cards that we play at 3 is Kieran. I think 3 Kieran is just fantastic. The card helps so much playing through boards. Like every time I had this card, I was just able to play through stuff, pop things, dodge things. It's just such a good card. At some point I had like a hand of Ponix 3 Kirin. It didn't matter, I still played through an Imperm, I think. Then we have a small Snake Eye package. We have 1 Ash, 1 Poplar, and 1 Original. This is just a good normal summon, and Poplar is very important for playing through Handtraps, as you will see when we see the extra deck. And this is obviously required for that. Also, look at this beautiful ulti, which I pulled out of my prizing pack, so that's pretty neat. Now, for the one-off Fire King cards, we have 1 Garunix, 1 Arvada, 1 Old Garunix, and 1 Baron. I've been thinking about cutting this. I have to revise the lines if I do that. I see a lot of decks not playing it, but those decks have better access to Snake Eyes cards, of course. So I played this, sided it out a bunch, yeah, but these are pretty standard. Then we have 1 Sanct, 1 Island. We don't have the Skyfire in the main, we sided. I wanted to keep the bricks as low as possible because we have the supplementary engine already. Speaking of, the supplementary engine is Kashtira, so 3 field spell. I think this is the best card for the supplementary engine just because you can choose what to get, which is why we play 2 Unicorn, 2 Fenrir. Basically what we want to do is we want to play, if you open a combination of these 2, that makes our combo better because that means we can play around the Xyz lock, whereas if we only have the Unicorn, we have to Xyz lock ourselves. And also, last second inclusion was the second Fenrir, and I'm really happy I did because this also helped so much at applying pressure when playing through boards. And then the one-offs is the one Rise Heart, which you need. It's a fire, so that's pretty cool. One Birth and one Theosis. You will take one of these two depending on what your line is. And Birth is just a super strong grind game card anyway. So if you can, you want to grab the Birth. If you don't have another option, you get the Theosis. Alright, that's it for the cash cards. Then two one-offs. We have a Terraforming and 1/1. Terraforming is really nice here because you can grab either the Kashtira card, Field Spell, or Fire King Island if you want to play through stuff. So starter or extender, and then we have the 1/1, just because your best starter is the Snake Eye Ash still, so having more access to this is very important. Speaking of Snake Eye Ash being your best starter, I've had comments already asking why no DIABELLSTAR. Obviously, if I had it, I would play it here. This is more of a budget build. So I'm waiting for the reprint because I don't see like buying it now for more money when it's gonna plummet in price in less than a month. But if you have it, I would definitely play it. I would probably cut down the Ponix to 1. I would cut the cash cards down, and then I would play Wanteds and DIABELLSTARs. DIABELLSTAR is also super good in this just because you can send the Raid Soft, which is like just free, and then she's level 7, so if you get Handtrapped, you just still make the Arsenal Falcon. So if you have DIABELLSTAR, play it. And for the non-engine, I've just went with Handtraps. Reason being that this deck can play through boards pretty well. Fire King can play through boards, like into boards well, and Kashtira cards do as well. So I just wanted to have Handtraps to weaken up the board, soften up the most important pieces of their end board, and just run through it with my engine. So I was thinking of, because these are only like 11 spots for this, and then the Fenris if you want to count them, to just go board breakers. So if you want to try that, do that. I was more comfortable with Handtraps. Also Ash Blossom with Sunlight Wolf is just super strong against some decks. So that's it for the main deck. This is clean 40. If you want, you can play 42 by adding another Handtrap, like filling out the playset of Ghost Ogre and then add another Unicorn if you want that, but I was happy with 40. Now, extra deck. We have the Link cards, Ambler Whale, Promethean, you should know those. We have the IPSP. Now, if you are on a big budget, then like on a smaller budget, I mean, then you can cut this card for a Unicorn. This IP into something package didn't come up that often. It does come up though, so it's nice to have it as an option, but this is not integral to the deck. So if you don't have it, I didn't make this that much this weekend. Hita, super good, made this a bunch. Doodle Chimera didn't make this at all, but it comes up in some lines, but definitely a flex slot here. Sunlight Wolf, that's one of the reasons to play the deck, as Jesse Cotton said. And then for that you also want the Relinquished Anima, just because sometimes you need to link something off into the zone. And also, if your opponent plays into the Anima zone, it's just free, helping you play into boards. That's it for the links. We have a big Xyz package to make the deck work, even through the lock. So we always play the Ulcanix. This card is very strong, just a board nuke, and you want to end on the option to make this. Then we have other rank 8s. We have the Hope Harbinger, really good against Tenpai. And then the last rank 8 didn't arrive in the mail, so shoutouts to Chris who lent it to me. It's the Photon Lord. Basically, when you do your combo and your Xyz lock, that's the best rank 8 you want to make, because it detaches, the Hope Harbinger doesn't, and you want to get the Ulcanix into the grave so it can trigger from there. If you want, you can also try Zombie Vampire, that's an option. It's especially nice if you have a higher Kashtira monster package, because then the Zombie Vampire can grab one of those, but I feel like this deck has a weakness to Nib, so having the Photon Lord at some point at least helps you against that. Then, rank 1s, we have a Fuko, and we have the Lyrlusk. Fuko is good against Tenpai, obviously, and it also, if you have a Kashtira Unicorn and your opponent shifters you, you can make a Fuko and another rank 8, I think, and it'll help you, like, survive. And then if your opponent doesn't shifter yet, you want to make a rank 1. For example, you get Handtrapped at some point. You can make the Lurilusk, which is still a very, very strong rank 8, rank 1 interaction. Lastly, the MVPs of the deck. You have the Arsenal Falcon, which can special summon Ulcanix from the deck by using the Kashtira engine. And then we have the Infernal Flame Banshee, which if you get hand-trapped at some point, like on the Ulcanix, you can just go Ulcanix plus your Kashtira Rise Heart, overlay them, go into this, grab Poplar, and play from there. So that's it for extra and main. Lastly, the side deck. We have 3 Nib. Nib conflicts with your Kashtira engine, but I think this card is so strong that I still want to play it. And going second, I usually side out most of the Kashtira cards. I keep in the Fenrir's, the Field Spells, and the Rise Heart, just because it's a fire. Sometimes, like, if you have a Fenrir to play into a board, Fenrir plus Rise Heart still can grab you an Ulcanix, so if you have another fire, you can still play. So that's why I kept this in, but like the unicorns go out, and that makes Nib obviously better. Then Droll, very, very good against a lot of decks, and back row removal, pretty standard. Evenly matched, I'm not convinced of this card that much. Obviously against Rogue it's fantastic, but definitely the last inclusion into my side deck, and also the weakest probably. And then these are all for going second. That's usually how I like my side deck, a lot of going second cards. And then the last one is just going first cards, Called by the Grave because of Shifter and Mulch Armies. We have an extra Unicorn just to make the ratios work, and then we have the Skyburn for more interaction, especially against back row decks. This one-off is just very strong. They set cards, you just destroy them all, and that's usually enough. Right, that's it for the deck. Let's hop into some combos. Okay, so let's start off with the Kashtira Unicorn 1-card combo, the whole idea behind the deck. Obviously, this is just a 1-card combo, so it will Xyz lock you here, but if you have any other piece of engine in your hand, you can actually forego the Xyz lock and do your link plays, and then this combo becomes really, really strong, because then you start searching Birth, gives you more grind game, gives you link material, and so on and so forth. But let's start off with the Unicorn combo. You special summon Unicorn and you use the effect to add Theosis. And you go Theosis, target the Unicorn, special Fenrir. Fenrir can then add you the Rise Heart, and this actually serves a double purpose, you should see in a second. You can overlay these two. For Arsenal Falcon effect, detach Fenrir, special summon Ulcanix. Now you can use Ulcanix effect, and because Rise Heart is a fire, that's a legal target for you to pop. Now, if this becomes hand-trapped, like if this gets impermed or ashed, you can special summon the Rise Heart because you're already Xyz locked anyway. You still have your normal, so if you're not Xyz locked, you can normal it here. Anyway, you get it on the field, you don't use the effect, keep it at level 4 if you're getting hand-trapped, and you go into Flame Banshee, which can then get you into Poplar, which can then get you into your Ponix. So this 1-card combo at least plays, you force your opponent to imperm your Unicorn or the Arsenal Falcon here, because otherwise you can just do this. But let's say this goes through, we pop the Rise Heart and add Ponix. And we also change the level of Ulcanix to 1 because we use the effect of Ponix, special summon it, and if this gets hand-trapped, or if the Fire King Island gets ashed, we still have 2 level 1s so that we can overlay these two in that case. But let's say this goes through, we get the Sanctuary, use the effect to get the Island. Now we use Island to pop the Ulcanix, and Ulcanix, first the Island adds you the Garunix. Now you have 2 chain links. You can go Ulcanix, chain link 1, and chain link 2, Garunix. You actually have to do it like this because this is a trigger and this is quick. So this goes onto the field, and the Ulcanix special summons the Garunix. Now, if you wanted to play around Nib, what you would do is instead of the Ulcanix, you pop the Ponix, and then this, in both scenarios, on summon will send the Barong. But in case you did the pop on the Ponix, you would have Ponix plus Barong for the Kirin the next turn, so at least have the nuke. But if you want to do the more greedy line, you do this, pop the Ulcanix, overlay these two for your Photon Lord, and then you can pass your turn. And during your opponent's standby phase, the Baron will get you the Kirin. Now, at some point, your opponent uses a monster effect. You detach the Ulcanix, need it in grave, and then at any point you just Kirin pop the Ponix, which is nice because it also returns to you into your next standby phase. Special Kirin, and that'll trigger the Ulcanix, specialing itself, and popping a Kirin from grave, which will then revive one of your fire monsters. If you just want follow-up, you get Baron, and that'll also give you a pop here. And whenever your opponent special summons, you can then also overlay these two for the other Ulcanix, which can nuke the field. It also nukes your field, so this is your last-ditch effort of interaction. But next turn you will get the Baron effect, you will get the Ponix back, and your Fire King Island is still here. Plus, if this gets popped, it also revives, so you have a lot of follow-up and usually should be able to kill from here. So that's the one-card combo. Let's hop into the next one. So let's take a look at how the Kashtira package can actually enforce your Fire King lines, because that's something I always want to have if I have a secondary engine. If I draw both engines, I want the secondary engine to actually enforce those lines. So you would special summon the Unicorn, not use the effect yet. You want to keep this flexible for now, because we will then use your normal summon for Ulcanix, use Ulcanix effect. Now, if this gets hand trapped, you still have the Unicorn to grab our Theosis. If this doesn't get hand trapped, you can get the Ponix, try to get the Ponix through, and then you can still grab the birth of the Unicorn, do more link plays with this. But let's pretend we get impermed here. So the Ulcanix is negated. You can then use the Unicorn, grab your Theosis, use Theosis, go to Fenrir. Fenrir then adds the Rise Heart, and then you can special summon Rise Heart through its own effect and not use the effect because we want to keep it level 4, because we can overlay these two for Banshee, and then Banshee can detach to grab you Poplar. That's why we play it, and it's also a decent starter by itself. Poplar specials itself, grabs the OSS, which you will then use to send the Banshee. That's important here. Unless you have the Kashtira field spell, then you can send that. But sending the Banshee to grab Ponix, we want to keep the Poplar on field, because if this gets hand trapped now, or if our Fire King Island gets hand trapped, we can still overlay these two, right? So we would have a Lyrilusk here or a Fuko, depending on the matchup, and two Kashtiras, and we still have 3 cards in hand. But let's say this goes through. We go Sanctuary, getting the Island, Island Power Ponix, grabbing you Ulcanix, Ulcanix effect, special itself. Now you have 2 options. Either you send Baron to have the nuke in the opponent's field by like having a Kirin popping the Poplar, and then we have 2 8s, but that'll also get rid of your Kashtiras. So what I like to do is you pop the Ulcanix from your deck, which will special a Ulcanix, and then you can overlay these two for your Photon Lord. And now you have 2 Kashs, a Photon Lord, and you will get follow-up because the Ponix comes back. Alright, so we went through how Unicorn plus Ulcanix can play against hand traps, but let's see how this plays when you don't get hand trapped. There's 2 lines you can do with that. There's a conservative line and a more greedy line. I'll show off both, but I'll start with the greedy line first to show off the full potential of what this deck can do. So again, you'll summon the Unicorn, not use the effect, instead check for hand traps with the Ulcanix. Let's say this goes through. You go pop your fire, add Ponix, and then Ponix summons itself, and on summon adds you your Sanctuary. At this point you can say that you got these through, your Xyz won't do anything anymore, so your Unicorn instead will grab you the Birth. So you'll continue by using the Sanctuary, grabbing you the Island, and from here on out, this is the branching path, depending on whether you want to go greedy or not. Popping Ulcanix is the greedy line, popping Ponix is the conservative line. So let's pop the Ulcanix first, grabbing Ulcanix, triggering the Ulcanix, and then you activate Ulcanix as well. This will summon itself, and the Ulcanix will summon Ulcanix. Now, new Ulcanix will then pop Arvata from the deck, and that'll summon Ulcanix back. Now, At this point, your opponent can nib you, and all you have left will be the birth for the unicorn and a token. If they don't nib you here, well, then it's too bad, because now you have a Photon Lord protecting you, and you can play freely from here on out. You'll do that by linking off one of your monsters and the unicorn, this is important, into IP, and then you can go birth to revive the unicorn. It's important that you link off the unicorn here, because otherwise you will be firelocked, because now you will go into Promethean Princess. Promethean Princess gets you back your Arvata, and now you want to link off the unicorn again, which you wouldn't be able to if you didn't do it in this sequence. Link off, go into Emblem Whale. Now, what you'll have is the Emblem Whale on field, Arvata to pop it for a negate. You have the Photon Lord, and in your grave you also have IP and Promethean Princess. So what you can do is Arvata effect, negate, pop the Emblem Whale. Obviously you can also, like, you want to detach this if you negate, so you have the Garunix engrave, and then Arvata can pop this to negate, which will trigger both the Emblem Whale and the Garunix. So you get Garunix, Masquerena. Garunix can then pop a Kirin, which will then trigger, pop something on your opponent's field, and you will get back any of your monsters really. You can bring back the Ulcanix, and if you have something to pop, like let's say you already used the Arvata, you can pop this, grab follow-up, Arvata can then revive the Kirin. You can link off with these two into SP, banish, banish again, and then if all else fails, you can still overlay for this, get a nuke, and then you'll still have the Promethean Princess, because there's a fire on the field, popping this, and if this gets destroyed, it'll trigger and revive Fire Kings from your graveyard. So there's a lot, you won't be able to play through this basically. So that's the greedy line. Let's rewind a bit and go for the more conservative line. So our board was the Ponix, the Unicorn, Sanctuary, Ulcanix, and our graveyard was the Ash Blossom. So if you at this point want to go more conservative, you can go Fire King Island, or you have the Birth Net as well. Pop the Ponix, grab your Garunix, triggering the Garunix, which will special summon itself, and that'll send your Baron to the grave instead. Now, whatever happens from here on out, you will have a Ponix that was destroyed, and you'll have a Baron that was destroyed, so you'll add this back, and this will get you Kirin. So at any point you can go Kirin, pop Ponix in hand, special itself, triggering Garunix in grave, which will then pop another Kirin in deck, so you get that pop and you get the nuke as well, plus whatever happens with the birth. But let's say they don't have it, and instead from this point on, again you will link off these two for your IP, and then you can go IP plus Ulcanix into your Promethean Princess, reviving any fire monster that is not these two, and then you can link these two into Emblem Whale, and then Kashtira Birth can then just grab you your Unicorn. Now, what you'll end up with in your opponent's turn, you get the Ponix in hand and the Baron Kirin. So what you can do here in your opponent's turn is you get the Unicorn Rip, you get the Kashtira Birth, Graveyard Banish. Those are nice to have, but the real interaction is with the fire monsters. So at any point you can just Kirin, pop the Emblem Whale to summon it, which will then trigger both Emblem Whale and IP. Not IP, Emblem Whale and Garunix, getting you the IP and the other Garunix. And that Garunix then again pops a Kirin in your deck. And then the Kirin can revive any monster. So Ulcanix again, just like we did before, right? And you'll have the IP to go into SP. And if your IP would get destroyed, you would be able to banish this to pop, or if your Promethean gets destroyed, you do that. And again, you can just overlay these two for your Garunix Eternity. To blow up the field, best case you will have the SP banished before then, and you blow up the field and you still have the Promethean Princess at any point here. So those are the lines with Unicorn and Ulcanix. Now let's show you one last combo. One last thing I wanted to show you is a line against Shifter, especially versus Tenpai. Now obviously a lot of decks, especially fire decks, have a huge issue with Shifter, and the Kashtira engine kind of helps with that, at least a little bit. So let's say our opponent Stamper Phase Shifters you. You can go Unicorn, Unicorn effect, grab Theosis, Theosis, summon Fenrir, and Fenrir, this gets banished, Fenrir adds Rise Heart. Now you can normal summon Ulcanix, use the effect, pop the Rise Heart, and add you a Ponix, and then make the level of Ulcanix to 1. Then you can summon the Ponix. Ponix adds you your Sanctuary, and you will keep this in hand because there's no reason for you to use it because you don't have your graveyard. And what you'll do here is against Tenpai, you can just make Fuko, and you'll have Unicorn, Fenrir, and Fuko. This at least lets you survive, plus these two can take out some resources, and you will have the Sanctuary for the next turn. Now, if Fuko has to detach, obviously these sadly get banished, but it is at least a line that lets you survive against Shifter, and then you still have more cards in hand. Now, if you only had Unicorn, you would have to, without the Ulcanix, go Unicorn into Theosis for Fenrir, Fenrir adding the Rise Heart, and you just do your standard Arsenal Falcon combo. It's banished. Detached Fenrir, special summon your Ulcanix. Ulcanix pops this, grabs this, and it's basically the same. You keep this in hand, and you make Fuko here, just that you don't take out resources. But again, it's a one-card combo that lets you survive and adds you follow-up. I think it's fair. Other than that, what you can do is also, if it's not Tenpai, instead of making the Arsenal Falcon, you can just keep the Kashtiras on board if you have enough hand traps to back it up. This against certain decks also may let you survive. And then if the Unicorn sticks grabbing you Birth, that's more than enough that you need as follow-up. So, hope you enjoyed the combos, and hope you enjoyed the video. Let me know in the comments if you want to try this out, if you have the DIABELLSTARs, if you have the AZAMINA cards and still want to try out cash cards. Although I think the extra deck will be a bit tight if you do that. But yeah, hope you enjoyed the video. I'm actually very close to 1,000 subscribers, which is needed for a partner. So if you leave a sub, that would mean a lot to me. And I'll see you in the next video.